wanted to ask you something that we discussed on our sort of first episode together, which is sometimes that very strange serendipitous circumstance or some kind of extraordinary, unusual connection that happens not just in filming, but in how I got that job was the most, it wasn't just go audition. There was some kind of weird, strange, serendipitous connection. Do you have any stories like that? How something came along?
One of my favorite movies I've ever done is a movie called Pow Wow Highway, and it was produced by George Harrison, and it's this beautiful story based on a book about Native Americans on a spirit quest. And it's a true story, and I play this real-life character named Rabbit Layton, who's from Texas. So this isn't super serendipitous, but I think it speaks to, if you're meant to get a role, no matter what you do to screw that up, it will just come and find you. It's like relationships. A therapist once told me, if you're in a good relationship, as long as you're a good person, you can't, if it's meant to be, you can't really screw it up. But if you're in something that no amount of work is going to fix something that isn't where you're supposed to be. But I got the audition for Pow Wow Highway, and I went to go to it, and I drove around for literally an hour, and I couldn't find the place. This is obviously before cell phones, and we had a thing called a Thomas guide here that you would flip through the pages and try to figure out where you're going. So I pulled over to a phone booth eventually in tears and said, I can't find this place. And they called, and they're like, yeah, their session's over. You missed it. So they're like, have her come back tomorrow to a different place. I literally drive around for an hour. I cannot find this place for the life of me. Again, pull over to a payphone. I call. I'm hysterical. My agents are like, well, you missed this session. So Junie Lowry Johnson, God bless her, an amazing casting director, was like, okay, does Amanda know where Raleigh Studios is? They were like, yes, she does. So this is after now this is 2 weeks later. They've gone through, they've cast everything.
Right.
And so I go the next day, and I decide to dye my hair red because my sister has red hair and I think I'm going to look amazing. Well, it comes out pink. I do not look amazing. It's crazy. I get a call. I figured the movie's gone at this point. They're like, they want you to come and test for the movie. So I'm like, okay. So I go, and I literally, my hair is sort of clear, slightly peachy pink. Oh. I literally look like, I don't even know, like what are those, like My Little Pony with this hair. And so I get a call that night from the director, Jonathan Wax, and he's like, Amanda, I'd like to, personally welcome you to the movie, and if you'd like to take the role. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to. I'm so excited. And he said, and I'm just curious, and it may have been the lighting, but is your hair pink? And I was like, it is. He's like, do you think you could fix it and be in Montana in 2 days? And I'm like, I'll try. But anyway, so that's my story. So no matter what I did to screw this up, I still got the part. And I'm so grateful to this day. It's such a beautiful, beautiful film. And
well, speaking of working with film directors, you have worked with some of the top tier directors in the industry, not just the late Wes Craven, but also people like Lawrence Kasdan. Do you find that directors' styles tend to vary from genre to genre? And if so, how does that impact you and your work as an actress?
Working with Wes Craven, he didn't approach the movie like a horror film. He just approached it, like a dramatic film. And then kind of helped teach, especially us younger actors in the film. There are a few, not tricks, but things that actors can do to enhance a scary movie, which is, like if the bad guy's over there, make your focus this direction, so that the audience is like, turn around, like, don't, there's just subtle things you can do, but he just, went for performance as if it was a drama. Lawrence Kasdan was phenomenal, and he just loves actors so much, and he would just want to see what you played with and what you brought, and his direction to everybody was always faster and louder, which is a great direction, because, and you see it often self-indulgent pauses when actors take those. It's just like, okay, this isn't your personal catharsis. This is a story you're trying to tell, and you need to be a vibrant part of, you're just a part of the wheel that's going around. So I learned a lot, and I was young, and I'm so grateful for that. Like, he's like, yeah, if I want to pause, I'll edit it in.
Right.
But people will tend to, they're fans of the genre, and they're directing as their directing style is horror. Like they're not, I don't know, like it's they're not directing to make the best film, they're directing to make a horror film. I don't know how to say it better than that. It's just this thing that I find, but it's just a younger crop of people that I've had that experience, and I find it really frustrating, because I think what makes a horror film good, which I'm not an expert on horror films by any means, but is that it's got to be performance driven and story driven, and just like a comedy or a drama. It can't be like, oh, I'm going to do 30 jump scares and saw people in half and throw blood in your face. Like, that doesn't make a good movie, in my opinion. So
I get that completely. Speaking as we're sort of contemporaries, albeit different sides of the pond, and starting out for me in the 80s, and I believe the same for you.
Yeah.
I think life is very different now for young actresses starting out, because we have the Me Too movement. Have you noticed a lot of changes since that movement has really come to fruition?
I think that this is a very slow process. I think that it's needed to happen, and there's a big event happening right now with a horror company that had allowed a predator to produce films that people I know were in. So I think that it's a very slow process of ownership and figuring out positive and just ways to move forward without making every interaction some political event that makes people completely uncomfortable to be around one another, and I think we're moving towards that. But I have not seen a big difference on sets. But I see people trying to check some of the banter or like the verbal things that people have normally said.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a change. I think people are more civilized and respectful of one another. But I think we have such a long way to go. Anyway, that's my long rambling. What do you think as a woman? Have you seen that? And as a man, like, what do you think?
I've experienced way more than I wish I had. And I thought it would have stopped by now, but there's always somebody still who can and will if they can. I feel that there was nowhere for me to go when I was young and I was experiencing. There was nobody I could report anything to. In fact, the norm, as we discussed on another episode, was very much to feel another man's hand on your behind on a regular basis. But I don't want to reach that stifled place that, when everything becomes so politically correct, because film sets are fun places and they're full of banter, and there is that sort of flirtatious badinage which happens because everybody's in a state of high energy. Everyone is keeping that energy up and flowing because it's like being on alert all the time when you're acting, although you're trying to save your energy between shots and things. There is that energy on a set. And I recently described it to a director who said he was trying to describe it to someone who wasn't in the industry. And I said, it's like a school classroom when the teachers just walked out.
Oh, that's a fantastic way to put it. That's brilliant.
And it is, because it's not like everyone's suddenly, throwing ink in the air and tearing everything up, but everything just gets a little bit out of hand, a little bit out of control. And that has always been the nature of the business. And that is not the thing that one is trying to control. What you're trying to control is the person who is a predator, and it's a different thing.
I think one of the biggest difference for young actresses now is I think that at least it's beginning to, they have a place to go and a platform to speak to things that are happening to them, where you and I, we did not. There was definitely like a, that's just the way things are, or suck it up, or don't be a troublemaker.
And I don't feel damaged by that stuff. I don't feel harmed by that. But there was stuff that I sincerely wish had never happened. And that is different. And that is the stuff that I'm hoping, the petty pace of progress. And I think it's true of the racial situation, of all of these situations like Me Too, that the progress is there. The progress is tangible, and that you can say, hey, look at the mix of people in these protests. That's not the mix of people who were protesting 60 years ago. That's progress. Wow, did it take 60 years and we're still protesting the same things? That's the petty pace.
Right.
And I think you're exactly right. It's not, I'm not going to see something massive, but I have actually been asked by a director, which I found very interesting. He contacted me and said, this is the cast. Are any of these people a problem? Wow. No, they're not. And he said, well, I've heard things about this person. I went, no, they're just really exuberant. They're not, certainly I didn't have any problem, but that doesn't mean, but I said, I didn't have any problem. They're just a very enthusiastic person. So I thought, I have never been asked that in my life. So I thought, well, maybe that's, but on the other hand, then, is that going too far? Does that mean that someone who is exuberant would be excluded because someone doesn't like someone being so boisterous?
Well, I think we're trying to figure out, how do we go forward and what are the things we implement? And I think people are just throwing, like, they're, to that person, this is a way to help with that, or, you know what I mean? Like, I do think that the biggest thing in this for me personally is, I wrote two things. One, I always want to be there for the younger actresses on a set, because now I play the mom and I play, the principal or whatever. And secondly, I speak up for myself a lot. I mean, literally be able to say, I'm uncomfortable with that, which is that's like not even anything like outrageous to say. But I don't know. It's interesting. And speaking of like the younger actors, this has been my experience. And I don't know if I'm wondering if you two have encountered this. When I was a young actor, whether I was doing a play or a TV show or a movie, obviously we didn't have cell phones, so everybody kind of sat around in chairs and chatted. I lived to hear the stories of the older actors and their plays they'd done and the experiences they'd had and their great stories or, horrible stories, all of that. I have found young actors have no interest in interacting, and I was so looking forward to getting old and being able to share things, but they're just on their phone and nobody wants to talk about what it was like or what my experience was. Do you guys have that experience?
I heard that exact same story from somebody else recently who said exactly that. And they actually got so annoyed. I won't name the actor. They got so annoyed with the younger people not listening. They swore and they wanted to put their phones down and learn something, because they didn't even know the names of the actors that were being mentioned, huge famous names. And they're going, listen and learn. So I was going, okay, yeah. I think, it's an indication. The attention span is smaller, but I was exactly the same. It was like stories around a fire. It was like, I actually sat in the makeup trailer where Kate O'Mara was having a makeup. I sat in the corner, like in the dark corner on the floor, just listening to her talking to the makeup artist, because I wanted to hear what she had to say. And eventually she started talking to me and she said, hey, let me tell you a few things about this business and stuff. And she was fabulous to me. And I always looked to the older actors and
I love hearing this. I just did a film we talked about on one of our earlier episodes. It's not out yet, but I did a film with Michael Forrest, classic film and television actor from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And, he is 90, over 90 now. And and we're friends in real life. I'll go over to his house and I'll just sit there and just listen to him tell stories for hours and hours and hours. It's fascinating to hear that. Just the enormous amount of life experience and industry experience that he has. So I love hearing stuff like that. But it's a shame if people are starting to tune that out.
I call it the Google generation. I think they can find anything they need on the Google. They're just like, your story is irrelevant because I can find something on the Google. I call it the Google. So, but who knows? Maybe I've just not been on the right sets for people to want to sit around and talk. I miss that camaraderie of actors from when I was younger, where whether you're doing a play or a TV show or a movie, the actors congregated, and I think it builds camaraderie and it builds chemistry, and you banter and you hang out and you share stories that when you get on set or the director says action or the audience is there is just energy bouncing off one another and a sharing that just doesn't happen if you completely don't interact and everybody runs to their dressing rooms or is like this the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make relationships so quickly on film sets and television sets. We have to make a connection with people very quickly and make it a deep and believable one. And without the banter, then it just feels really weird. You've got no rehearsal and you've had no conversation. And now this man's my husband and I've only said hello. We just shook hands. What is this? So yeah, I think it's such an important part, and I think it'd be really sad if it's completely lost, because most television now doesn't seem to rehearse at all. People just turn up for the day, you know your line, you speak it, and you go.
My last episode of TV, which I loved, and I got to work with this wonderful director who I love, Stacey Black. But literally it was like no rehearsal, and it's like, okay, and your daughter just died, and go. And I was like, okay, you know what? I actually need a minute, just a minute. Let me walk around the set here for a second. Is this my house? Just give me 1 minute. I'm like.
So what have you been working on recently? Do you have anything in the can, anything upcoming that you want to talk about?
Well, I have a movie playing on Netflix right now that just got released at the beginning of quarantine.
Okay.
And it was really exciting. It's called Badland. It's a Western. And it was in the top 10 of Netflix for 2 weeks.
Sweet.
Which was like, that was really exciting for me. And then right now I'm recording my first audiobook. I mean, I didn't write it. Wait, I don't know how you say it. I'm recording somebody else's book that they wrote, but it's the first time I've ever recorded an audiobook. So that will be coming out, and it'll be part of a series, and I'm excited about that. And then, so both of my movies that I was excited about literally came out right at the beginning of quarantine. The other one is a scary movie called Hunter's Moon. It's kind of a supernatural thriller. But because so many more important things were happening at the time, they both just kind of like died a slow, horrible death. But anyway, so I was really excited. So Hunter's Moon is playing on Amazon Prime, and Badland on Netflix.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about all the wonderful things that you've done, and will no doubt carry on doing, because you are so superb and so talented, and we feel so honored to have had you on our show.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you guys. I'm big fans of both of you, by the way, and that you wanted to chat with me makes me feel like a million, and your kind words are taken to heart and make me feel so special and loved by you. And because I'm just, you know how much I love you, and I'm such a huge fan, and I'm such a fan of yours as well, James. And this was delightful, and thank you for having me.
Today's viewer question comes via YouTube from user David Jones, who asks, Nicola appeared as the dance teacher Martine in The Biz. What can she tell us about her memories on this show, And did her dance background assist in the role?
Well, yes. What I remember most was that bizarrely I was cast while I was in LA. So that was a really weird thing, to get the BBC series while I was in LA. And I remember that they did ask if I'd done dance before, and I'd done ballet school stuff when I was very young. But I hadn't done any for quite a while when I got the job. One of the funniest things I remember was actually a group of Doctor Who fans, and one of them particularly writing me this letter saying, "It's so good to see you back in a leotard." I was wearing a leotard again, so that was brilliant. And I also remember it was great because we filmed during the summer, because all the kids had to film during the school summer holidays. So we filmed throughout the summer, so there was a lot of outdoor location, picnicking. The summer seemed to be very good when we were filming, so we spent a lot of time outside, and we had a great time.